Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibis, welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Hope you're having a good Thursday. We are inching towards that weekend. I'm going to tell y'all, I got nothing planned for the weekend. My plan is to alternate between the couch in my house and the couch on my screened-in porch. One of the two. If you need me, you'll find me there. All right. So yesterday I went to the oncologist to follow up about the MRI I had. So apparently there is something that has made a home in my pelvis. And so he has referred me to a surgeon to evict whatever's growing in there or just see what the next steps are. I mean, in a best case scenario is something we just watch. In a worst case scenario, surgery sooner than later. But I will be at CrimeCon. I don't care if I have staples, stitches, or if you guys see me zipping around on a Jazzy, I will be there with bells on. And I will also be in Epcot on the 21st for my 46th birthday, because that's how I roll. And I might literally be rolling through Epcot. I'm not going to sit around and be bored. I'll tell you that much. Y'all will be getting episodes from a daggum bed if I have to. Music fact of the day. What are the most iconic songs of all time, according to science? Well, Dr. Mick Grierson was hired by the car brand Fiat to find the best song for a new commercial. So he looked at a lot of different polls from VH1, Billboard, MTV, and he examined each song's key, the beats per minute, the chords, and song variants to analyze how the musicians made their song more dynamic and memorable. He said, we looked at a range of measures for each song and compared them to see if there were similarities in these recordings which occur less in other songs. So what were the top 5 songs that seem to be universally loved by most people? Number 5, Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. Number 4, Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. Number 3, One by U2. Number 2, Imagine by John Lennon. And number 1, Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. Interesting. All right, Bryan Kohberger, he waived his right to a speedy trial yesterday. I'm not shocked. I kind of thought this was coming. There's too much up in the air with his defense right now that I ever thought that this October 2nd court date was going to stand. He had until next month to make this decision. But his attorney, Ann Taylor, said that their case would not be effective or ready by October 2nd. They needed more time to review evidence from the state and also complete other processes, including a motion to get the death penalty off the table, to get the grand jury indictment thrown out, as well as ask Judge to ban cameras from the courtroom. Not sure how successful they'll be with the first two. I think it's possible they could ban cameras for this courtroom. As you know, if you followed Lori Vallow, cameras were banned from there for live streaming. And you guys got the audio later in the day after the day's proceedings had ended. I kind of think at this point, these cases maybe should be live streamed. You have people in there live tweeting, you have journalists, you have podcasters, content creators, YouTubers. And it's interesting how you can get a group of people and there are 5 different interpretations for one thing. So I think transparency in this day and age, because we have the ability to live stream these trials, is the way to go. But I'm just saying, as a podcaster and as somebody who is enthusiastic about justice, that would be ideal, but that's not always how it goes. The state accepted the request to waive the speedy trial, saying they would prefer to resolve the case sooner, but they want both sides to be prepared. The next hearing is set for September 1st. We could have a new trial date set then. Also, they will address that motion to dismiss that grand jury indictment on that date. In a post before yesterday's hearing, Kaylee's family posted, "We are afraid he is going to waive his rights to a speedy trial. If he does, trial will not be starting on October 2nd, and it's very likely it won't take place for years. We want to get this trial over. Just thinking it could be years absolutely kills me. Can't imagine having to live day to day, months, years with the pending trial hanging over your head." We saw it in Lori Vallow. It was 3.5 years before she went to trial. Chad's not scheduled till next year. And then one of the longer ones was the murder of the Roden family and Hannah Hazel Gilley in Ohio. It was over 6 years before George Wagner went to trial. The dad, Billy, has yet to go to trial. So you look at that family, they've lost family members who are waiting justice, never saw George go to trial and be found guilty, and never saw Jake and Angela plead guilty. Just can't imagine the weight that these families deal with having all this up in the air. But ultimately, we want a conviction to stick and not come back on appeal. And that's probably of no comfort to these families right now. My heart goes out to all of them. Can't imagine. Moving on to Ana Walshe. We covered this case at the beginning of the year. There were some updates actually that came out while I was in Idaho covering Lori Vallow that I totally missed. But yesterday, he was back in the news, Bryan Walshe, her husband, who has been charged with her murder and her dismemberment. And so I went back and found some older articles. So we're going to kind of recap this case real quick and tell you what's new. Prosecutors are expecting DNA results from items linked to her murder to be in soon, within the next couple of weeks. Her husband, Bryan, is accused of murdering and dismembering her. He has charges of first-degree murder, misleading police, improper disposal of a human body, and prosecutors revealed that he was the sole beneficiary of a $2.7 million life insurance policy Ana had taken out, although his attorney says he was not in need of money, and his mom had given tens of thousands of dollars to the couple. So just a little backstory for new listeners and a refresher for all y'all, because over the months, these things kind of get a little bit lost in the shuffle as things go quiet and new cases come up. Ana had been working in Washington, D.C. for almost a year before she was murdered. She would come home on the weekends if she could, and his attorney says Bryan was the primary caregiver of their 3 sons, who were all under the age of 6 at the time that Ana disappeared. On December 28th, Ana had dinner with a friend in D.C. The friend said that Ana became uncharacteristically upset and told her friend that she believed that Bryan was going to be incarcerated as a result of the federal case that he had going on. Her husband, Bryan, was awaiting sentencing for selling fake Andy Warhol paintings on eBay, and Ana's friend told investigators that the marriage was strained and that she was prepared to leave him and take the children to D.C. Also, the friend said that Ana had given Bryan some sort of ultimatum about the resolution of his criminal case and wanted the kids to be with her in Washington. When investigators went to her residence there in D.C., they found it was ready for the kids to move there. She had clothes and other items already in place for her 3 children. Ana was last seen on New Year's Eve. A friend had dinner at their home with both her and Bryan and left around 1:30 a.m. Bryan said that Ana told him that she had a work emergency in D.C. and would be leaving that next morning. He said Ana would take an Uber, Lyft, or a taxi to go to the airport, and according to him, she left around 7 a.m. Bryan said he got up that morning and made breakfast for their 3 boys, and in the afternoon, a babysitter came at about 3 p.m. while Bryan went to go get orange juice and milk. He came back home around 4, and then he left to go visit his mother, who lived a little over an hour away. Now, it's super convenient, but Bryan didn't have a cell phone. He said one of his sons lost his phone. Without a cell phone, no GPS, and because of that, Bryan says he got lost going to his mom's, which he said added about 20 to 30 minutes more travel time. 15 minutes after arriving to his mom's, he left to run errands, according to him, at Whole Foods and CVS to get groceries and cleaning wipes. He went back to his mom's condo and returned to his house around 8 p.m. He was caught on surveillance buying over $450 worth of cleaning supplies at Home Depot. He bought several mops, buckets, and brushes, 2 large clear tarps, tape, a Tyvek suit with a hood and shoe coverings, 2 pairs of splash-resistant goggles, a utility knife, a hatchet, and 2 12-pound bags of baking soda. A knife found in a cabinet next to multiple bottles of hydrogen peroxide was also found in the house. Investigators found a bloody knife in their basement, as well as blood in multiple locations in the basement and the stairwell leading down to the basement. They also saw a plastic lining in the truck of Bryan's SUV. After the missing person report was filed on January 6th and 7th, there was a massive search for Ana with multiple agencies participating. On the 7th of January, investigators went to the North Shore of Massachusetts to verify Bryan's route of travel and also to confirm his visits to that Whole Foods and CVS he said he went to, but guess what? He wasn't seen on surveillance at either store at the time he said he was there. But they did find that surveillance of him at Home Depot. He was wearing a black surgical mask, blue surgical gloves, and made a cash purchase. This trip was in violation of his pre-sentencing probation. He was only allowed to go to certain places or be so far from home. Least of his worries at this point, though. They found that Bryan had traveled to Brockton and Abington during the week of January 1st. He was seen carrying trash bags to dumpsters in both areas. The bags in Abington were recovered by investigators before they were taken away. Investigators believe Ana was killed and dismembered in the basement of their home, and her remains were scattered around the greater Boston area in dumpsters. Her COVID vaccination card was found in a dumpster, as well as a watch, some clothing she was known to wear, and a hacksaw with a bone fragment, which is part of the DNA evidence we're waiting to find out if it was hers. That was found in a dumpster near his mother's home. They also found a blood-soaked rug. In the days before her murder, Bryan hired a private investigator because he was suspicious Ana was having an affair. He had been stalking an Instagram page of the man he thought she was having an affair with, and around Christmas of last year, Bryan didn't hear from her for about 24 hours. His attorney said that Bryan's mother was the one that hired the private investigator in response to that missing day where he didn't hear from her. He claims Bryan didn't know about the affair until discovery in the case was given to his attorneys. I call hogwash. It was confirmed she was having an affair with somebody in D.C. and had been several months before her murder. He said he and Ana had went to Dublin for Thanksgiving and spent Christmas Eve together. He was her most frequent contact in her phone, and they were going to celebrate the new year when she got back to D.C. on January 4th. Apparently, they were open about their relationship in D.C. Before the murder, Bryan Googled, what's the best state to divorce for a man? Now, in the days after her murder, Google revealed a lot. He used his son's iPad to Google these things. January 1st, 4:44 a.m. This had to have been shortly after her murder. How long before a body starts to smell? 4:58, how to stop a body from decomposing. 5:28, how to embalm a body. 5:47 a.m., 10 ways to dispose of a body. 6:25, how long for someone to be missing to inherit? 6:34, can you throw away body parts? 9:29, what does formaldehyde do? 9:34, how long does DNA last? And can identification be made on partial remains? 2 hours later, dismemberment and the best ways to dispose of a body. 11:44 a.m., how to clean blood from wooden floor. 11:56, luminol to detect blood. At 1:08 p.m., what happens when you put body parts in ammonia? 1:21, is it better to throw crime scene clothes away or wash them? The next day at 12:45 p.m., is a hacksaw the best tool to dismember? 1:10 p.m., can you be charged with murder without a body? 1:14, can you identify a body with broken teeth? Then on January 3rd at 1:13 p.m., what is the rate of decomposition of a body found in plastic bag compared to on a surface in the woods? And at 1:20, can baking soda make a body smell good, and ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to? His only explanation for these searches is that they were done on the iPad of a son who was 6 at the time. When investigators asked how a 6-year-old could search for these terms with no misspelling, his attorney ended the interview. Now, just recently, a community tip had law enforcement out in full force to a wooded area of Peabody, Massachusetts on Tuesday, but nothing new was discovered. His court appearance that was set for yesterday was rescheduled to November 2nd. And as I mentioned earlier, those DNA results are due back within the next couple of weeks. Her body has not been found. Moving on to Moises May, 36-year-old man from Louisville, Kentucky. He has been charged with kidnapping, intimidating a participant in the legal process, 2 counts of assault, terroristic threatening and harassment, and endangerment. This is a terrible, terrible story. Jonna Wilson, who is 37, had been in a relationship with Moises, and they have a child together. She previously had lived at this home. She said when her daughter was born, she didn't know she was pregnant and delivered in the bathroom. The baby was 3 pounds, 3 ounces at birth, and the cord was wrapped around the baby's neck. She said the baby was dying, and Moises would not bring her a phone to call 911 or help her at all. She had been gone from the house for 4 days when she ran into Moises while he was riding his bike. He asked her to come clean the house, saying that he would pay her and that's all he wanted. So she agreed. And when she got to the house, he made her strip naked, burned all the clothes she had except for what she was wearing, and cut her hair with a machete. He then slapped her and chained her to the floor with a padlock on her neck for about 5 hours. He told her he was going to return some items at Lowe's and that he would kill her when he got back. While he was gone, thank God, she was able to break a window and scream for help. A neighbor heard her screaming. There's body cam video of her being rescued. It's very disturbing to see anybody chained with a padlock around their neck. She is frantic. You can tell there's relief, but then also kind of that terror of what could have happened very shortly if police had not arrived. Every single entrance into the home was bolted shut, so the police had to make entry with a ladder onto the second story and through the window that she broke when she was screaming for help. The front door was just barricaded. She said, he has a key to get inside and outside. You have to have a key to get out. And as soon as I saw him lock the door, I knew I wasn't going to get out. He said, you want to do this the hard way or the easy way? And she said, I want to do this the easy way. So I let him put the chain around my neck and he started choking me with it. But he has been arrested, and bless her heart, I know a lot of local people in the community as well as some organizations that help battered women have reached out to her. I really, really hope that she gets the help she's going to need, because that just has to be psychologically scarring for 5 hours to think that your time is coming as soon as he rolls up on his bicycle. Bless her heart. She broke my heart. We've been seeing a lot of these cases. The Kayla Brown case, which is very local to me, 30 minutes away. She was the one kept in the shipping container and padlocked. Moving on to Carmela Leierth-Segura, 48-year-old songwriter out of California, and her 19-year-old cat have been missing for over 7 weeks. She was last seen on June 29th in the Beverly Hills area, and also last sent a text to a friend in Sweden on the 29th of June. That message was said to be nothing of substance, nothing out of the ordinary. They caught her car leaving on camera on the 30th at 2:40 a.m. She was going out of the Beverly Hills area. The driver could not be seen. Her car is a 2010 Ford Fusion with California license plates 6K Zebra J725. That car also missing. She is a co-writer of Katy Perry's hit song Walking on Air. She's originally from Sweden, and a missing person report wasn't filed until August 8th, and that was 6 weeks after she was last seen. Police say obviously timing is crucial at this point because they weren't made aware of her disappearance for weeks. A friend of Carmela's, Cecilia Foss, is worried maybe she's been abducted, saying it's not like her to just disappear on her own. Her friend said if she was going for a drive to clear her head, I get it, but it's been 7 weeks and no one has heard from her. Nobody goes for a 7-week drive. I'd like to think that nothing bad happened, but do I think something bad happened? Yeah. Another friend of hers, Liz Montgomery, was contacted by Carmela's sister, who still lives in Sweden, which led to Liz calling in a welfare check. COVID had been a big challenge for her because she's a musician, a model, and an actress. And when COVID hit, we were all in lockdown, Hollywood shut down, and she had no money coming in. She had mentioned to a friend she may be evicted, and her landlord confirmed that she had been evicted. Her friend Cecilia told the LA Times she knew that her friend had been arguing back and forth with the landlord about rent. She said, but she has a lot of friends that she could have called easily and crashed on their couch if she needed to. Cecilia also said the police department has been tracing her car. There's absolutely no sign of it since the last time the car was seen leaving the city of Beverly Hills. But we don't know if she was actually driving because the cameras are not showing the drivers. So we don't actually know if she was in the vehicle. She is described as a white woman with blonde hair and blue eyes who's around 5 feet 10 inches tall, weighs about 125 pounds. Anybody with information is asked to contact the Beverly Hills Police Department at 310-285-2184. Moving on to Lauren Pazienza. She is the one who shoved down the very loved 87-year-old vocal coach Barbara Gustern in March of last year in Manhattan, which led to her death 5 days later. I know a lot of people who actually knew Barbara, and I tell you, it's very much the same with everybody. They say she was a firecracker. She was a spitfire. She was infectiously optimistic and encouraging. And she actually was the vocal coach for Debbie Harry of Blondie. Right after the accident, Barbara was heard saying, "I've never been hit so hard in my life." Eventually, she lost consciousness and died due to a large hemorrhage on the left side of her brain, and the cause of death was blunt force trauma. Yesterday, Lauren pled guilty to 1 count of first-degree manslaughter, and as a part of her plea deal, she will serve 8 years in a New York State prison, followed by 5 years of post-release supervision. She's agreed not to appeal this as part of her plea deal. She faced up to 25 years if she had taken it to trial and been convicted. She previously had rejected 2 plea deals, which would have seen her serve 15 years in prison. I just don't think 8 years is a lot of time, y'all. This is an 87-year-old woman. I try not to be negative, even about defendants, but I'm going to tell you, this girl sounds like a brat. This girl just sounds difficult and entitled. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg Jr. called it a senseless and unprovoked attack. What led up to it is that Lauren had been drinking wine and arguing with her boyfriend prior to the attack. They were eating at a Chelsea park, celebrating the 100-day mark before they were set to be wed last June. Somebody who worked for the park came up and asked them to leave because the park's closing. Well, she didn't like that. She cursed out the employee and proceeded to throw her food on her fiance. Lauren was said to cross the street, shouting profanities, walked up to Miss Barbara, shoved her down, and walked away. She did stay around the crime scene for around 20 minutes as Barbara was taken by ambulance, and during that time, she was seen on camera in an altercation with her boyfriend. She took the subway back to their apartment and told her fiance that she had shoved someone. Now, after reading an article about the incident, she admitted to her cousin that she pushed somebody. In the wake of her pushing Barbara, she quit her job, wiped her social media, took down her wedding website, and then she fled to Long Island to stay with her family. She also stopped using her cell phone completely and left that cell phone at an aunt's house to avoid detection. Her attorney said, though, in those days that she was looking for an attorney to help her surrender. An anonymous tip was eventually called in that she was at her parents' house, but when police showed up, her father said she wasn't home and he did not allow police inside that house. She ended up and turned herself in on March 22nd, 2 weeks after she shoved Miss Barbara. She was initially released on a $500,000 cash bail, and at the time, her attorney gave a statement to CNN saying, "Lauren is very relieved to be headed home to be with her family. Tomorrow, they will have the family in their thoughts and prayers on the day of Miss Barbara's funeral." Her bond was revoked in May of last year after she pled not guilty, and she was deemed to be a serious flight risk. They stuck her on Rikers Island. Her parents are super wealthy. They own a cesspool draining company that's been in their family for over 3 generations. The DA's office said that Lauren aggressively shoved Barbara to the ground and walked away as the beloved New Yorker lay there bleeding. Today's plea holds Lauren accountable for her deadly actions. We continue to mourn the loss of Barbara, a talented musical theater performer and vocal coach who touched so many in the New York City area and beyond. Her high-profile attorney, Arthur Adalia, said whether it was a push, whether it was a shove, whether it was a kick, or whether someone tripped, the evidence is not very solid on that at all. This is also the same attorney who said in her first court appearance that pushing someone who's on the sidewalk is not the same as pushing someone in front of a moving train. Her attorney had previously tried to get the charge dismissed, telling a judge pushing someone one time, not knowing their age or any disability, doesn't rise to the level of first-degree manslaughter. We will keep pursuing justice as best we can. People who know Lauren have spoken to media, and the picture they paint, y'all, it ain't pretty. Fellow tenants in her building say that she was confrontational, and one said there's always some type of issue, some type of complaint. You'll always know it's her. It's ridiculous. Way back in grade school, she was said to be a huge bully, according to former classmates. One said she would kick him and call other people names. Another classmate told the Daily Mail, "What angered me most was seeing their lawyer said she's overcharged and is a good moral person. She's not. I knew her very well at school, and she was pure trouble. She's the poster child for white privilege. She never faced any consequence in her life. She was enabled by her parents who got her out of everything, but she called them stupid and basic. She has no empathy and was prone to speaking to people in a derogatory manner, including overweight people and people who are hearing impaired. There was actually a video that surfaced of her kind of contorting her face and speaking in a distorted voice. And apparently this was her way of making fun of the hearing impaired. The classmate said she is not a good person. She has a fiance and she went to high school, went to college, but none of these parts of her life were normal. One former classmate posted on Facebook shortly after her arrest, totally shocked and absolutely not surprised at all at the same time. She was also described by former friends as unpredictable and confrontational. The friend also alleges that Lauren was abusive to her fiance on multiple occasions. So her sentencing is scheduled for September 29th. I hope all 8 years are so miserable. I hope every second of her incarceration is the worst ever. And what's scary to think, in 8 years, she will be back in public. And gosh knows if she were to drink and get a little mad, what's she going to do next, right? I mean, 8 years, come on. Ridiculous. But hey, her attorney got her a good deal and the state agreed. So it is what it is. All right, guys, that's it for today. I'll be back at you tomorrow. Hope you have a good one.